Welcome to the Leedz Edutainment Podcast, featuring in-depth interviews with people in hip-hop culture, based out of New England. Leeds. What's up, Tara?
How's it going?
Good. Were you outside on a nice day?
Man, I'm at work.
Oh, really? What's work these days?
I work in the ER at BMC.
Oh, work.
Yeah.
I know a bunch of people that work there.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, nurses.
Oh, okay. Every day is really eventful over here.
So you're in the ER, huh?
Yeah.
Well, talk to me about that, because I am quite familiar with the Boston Medical ER. Let's inform people that don't know what a day in the life of working in the Boston ER is like.
Listen, yo, it's so crazy working in the ER, right? I'm gonna say this. Every day you gotta expect something, and it's something new. If they had a camera in here, it would be the best show on TV. I'm telling you.
And on that note, we're going to welcome everybody to the Leedz Edutainment Podcast. We got a very special guest today, Mann Terror of the Wiseguys.
Yes, sir.
And no problem. Please, if you're listening right now, like us on Spotify, like us on Apple Podcast, follow us, subscribe on YouTube, like this, any comment you make, it helps us all get the word out. But yes, welcome, brother.
Thank you, man. Thank you for having me. You know that.
No doubt. Like I said, I know the ins and outs of, I know some of the ins and of Boston Medical emergency room. Let's just say if you get a wound from some type of assault weapon, they send you to Boston Medical first, generally. Am I correct in saying that?
Well, it's the best trauma hospital in the city. So if you get shot or you get stabbed or something crazy like that, you definitely want to come here.
What's the nickname they give it over there? They give it a nickname, don't they?
What's the nickname?
I heard Knife and Gun Club.
Listen, I haven't heard that one, but if it is, then it's probably correct.
Is it fair to say that that's an accurate nickname?
Oh yeah, that is definitely accurate.
You grew up in Roxbury, though.
Yeah, I grew up right down the street from here, Orchard Park Projects. Yep, Roxbury.
Orchard Park Projects has a rich history for those listening. It's the home of New Edition, correct?
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
But it's also been quoted as one of the most notorious Boston housing projects as well.
Yes. Yeah.
Talk to me about your experience growing up there. I'd like to know your experience.
It's funny because it's the change, right? As I was growing up, and it was more of a family environment. It wasn't from us living in the project. We didn't realize how tough it was what all the people around the project thought. It was just home to us. Everyone. I'm both sides of my family. So I'm a real project kid. My mom's family lived there, and my dad's family lived there. So as I grew up, my grandmothers actually kept their doors open. Like they didn't lock the doors, until nighttime. So it was just, walk in. It was just so, everything was family. And as it got, the years started going on, it got more violent, the guns, and so on. And it got crazy. And that's when it, really kind of went wild. I've been out. My family moved out probably in, I want to say the early 90s, but I stayed around forever. But the project
go ahead.
The project is tough. It's tough, and you don't realize how tough it is because you grow up there until you actually get out of there. You start realizing, like, wow, okay, it was real.
I read somewhere that it was during the 80s crack era where it got real bad, that there was serious drug dealers moving in there. And that was probably one of the biggest reasons why stuff was getting bad. Is that correct from what I read?
Yeah and no. So it's funny, from being from Orchard Park, and then a lot of people hear the stories about the New Yorkers, and
Yeah,
Darryl White and God came
right.
in, and they took over the projects and this and that, and it wasn't like that. That story is so far from the truth of how things actually went. And I'll give you a little bit of it. So, growing up in the project, like I said, you had that family environment. Everybody was cool. You had this older lady. Her name was Miss Carol, and she was kind of like the house where the older people went. They smoked their joints, and they did whatever they did. And the guy Darryl Whiting kind of built a relationship with Miss Carol, and that's how they came in the projects, and they came in on love, just being around, and it went like that. So it was never a thing of they came in, they took over the projects, and they actually only stayed in one side of the projects, one little piece of the projects, but if you listen to the stories, you would think they took over a whole projects, and it was one way. But when they came in, they actually wasn't even selling crack yet. It was powder. They were selling powder, and then it formed into the crack. And another funny thing too is they only had like a 2-year run. It was only from like '88 to 1990, and where they came in, and they came in, they made their money, and then the feds came. But after that is when it became kind of wide open, and then you had everyone else trying to come in, and really the crack started really hitting. But it was more the gang mentality that kind of really made it bad. Once the gang started hitting, and more gun activity, that's when it really got crazy.
And you got caught up in that?
Yeah, I was, definitely, involved. And it's funny because that's where my name Terror came from. So I was super wild. I was really, really active in the streets. And I got bullet holes in my body, I got knife wounds. I was right over here. Before it was Boston Medical Center, it was Boston City Hospital.
So you're alumni?
So,
You're Boston
yeah, so
Medical alumni?
I'm an alumni, yes. And then
Did you put
so
that on your application when you applied? No?
no, I stayed
You
far
left that
away
one out,
from
huh?
that.
Yeah. You're a changed man now.
Yeah, I stayed away from that. Actually, so 1995, I got arrested with a gun. I went to jail. I did my time, and I came home, and I could say this, like, music saved my life, because I didn't know what I was coming home to, and I started doing the music, and from there, I just never looked back.
So did you start writing rhymes in jail or before jail?
Well, I started writing rhymes before, like I fell in love with hip hop from Run DMC, from King of Rock.
Oh.
I watched that video on the box, and I knew that's what I wanted. I was like, man, I'm going to do this. And so I was writing rhymes, I was doing my thing, but I never really kind of showcased it. I kind of, kept it in the projects. My friends knew I could rap, but I didn't really, I wasn't chasing it. I didn't do it. It's funny, right, Leedz, because I never really chased it at all, ever, until, I came home, and a friend of mine, his name is DJ J Nux. He was doing mixtapes. He's like, Terror, come on, man, you gotta do the mixtape. And I started doing the mixtapes, and it kind of went crazy. My area just, started spreading and spreading and spreading. So from that, it was actually, I got a call that Benzino was forming a group called the Wiseguys. And once again, I'm like, yeah, okay, you know what I'm saying? And then, but it was more of, not only was he forming a group, he wanted to pull some of the guys that was really into the streets into this group. He didn't want to make it just rappers. He wanted to make it dudes that had an impact in their neighborhood. And that's how it all happened for me.
I definitely want to talk about Wiseguys, but I think it's important before we talk about Wiseguys, we talk about Almighty RSO, because that paves the way.
Yeah.
So for those that don't know, Almighty RSO was E. Devious, Ray Dog, aka Benzino, Tony Rome, DJ Def Jeff,
Def Jeff,
correct?
yep.
And then there was some more later, right?
Well, it was it was some
Changed.
more before that. They had
Oh,
Kevski, they had Kevski, and it was one more person. I got to think of the name, but yeah, they had more. But as it went on, that was the RSO that everyone knows, the guys you just named.
talk about the impact of them for those that, like I said, I always say for those that don't know, but I always want to talk about that because not everybody knows about Almighty RSO, and they're a huge factor in the Boston hip hop scene.
Yes, you know it's funny, right? Because I didn't know any of the guys from RSO. You know, growing up, I just knew about RSO, and you know, inside Boston, we're real neighborhood heavy. You know, so RSO was from up Dorchester, Mattapan area. So you know, I didn't really see them that much either. You know, I heard their music and I knew the reputation of, you know, they represented for Boston. So we cheered for them no matter what, you know. And then when they finally came out with the songs, you know, One in the Chamber, and you know, they started getting bigger, and you know, the music started, you know, going more around the city, you know, because you got to think at this time we don't have social media, we don't have any of that, you know. So you got to hear it on 88.9 or you know whatever we was doing at that time. So it was a little different. It was a lot slower how the music circulated around the city. And you know, I represented them because they represented us. They were what Boston had at that time, you know, and they did it. They really pushed, and you know, they helped create, you know, a sound, and well, we kept going on with it.
Right. So Benzino decides he wants to put together the Wiseguys, correct? Like he's the kind of the one that put it together, correct? And
Yeah.
the goal, am I right in saying that he wanted to pick different rappers from all the different neighborhoods and put it together as one, right?
What? Yeah. Yep. That was
Okay.
the whole goal. He wanted to take um rappers from every single neighborhood, put them together, and make a super group.
And the original group had like 12 members, correct?
12 members. Yep.
What was that like? Talk about the Wise Guy era. Talk about
Well,
making these songs and talk about doing all.
so it's really weird, right, Leedz? Because it seemed like it was hard, right? But it wasn't. First the main part was we were all active gang members from different neighborhoods. So that was the hard part, you know, getting everybody in the city, you know, to getting everybody to buy into it. The crazy part was we didn't really record a lot together at the first album. So that first album was kind of more like a compilation album. So the way we did it was we wasn't really together. Even when if you listen to the first song on the Wiseguys album, Company of Killers is a symphony song with everybody on it. And I'm the first person on the song. I started, you know, but in actuality, I was the last person who actually did their verse, and it was already done. We were the last group to come on to the project, and so when they all did it, I wasn't there, but Benzino saved that spot for me, and I went back in and I did my verse. So it's kind of crazy. I'm the first person on the song, but the last person to actually record.
You seem like Benzino looked out for you a lot in the beginning of your career, right?
I'm beyond, like he did. He definitely did, man. You know, like Benzino was a big influence on me doing music, period. And not just from, you know, wanting to rap. He taught me things about this rap and about the business and how to, you know, handle myself. I kind of learned almost everything that I've known from him. You know, like I said, I was doing mixtapes. I wasn't really chasing rap, so I never been to the studio. I didn't even know how to do ad libs. You know, I didn't know how to do certain things. You know, his influence, not just he taught me how to get out of the box of just making hood records, show me how to do other records, and just you know, use my full potential, not just be one way. And you know, I always be thankful to him for that.
Yeah, because I feel like there is a negative stigma about him out there, but he, you know, in your situation, he did right by you.
You know, I'm gonna say this, man. He did right by a lot of people. You know,
Right.
he did right, and for for everyone has their sides.
Everyone, let me just
Everybody,
stop you real quick. Everyone that I've talked to from back then has a Benzino story.
yeah. So
Good or bad is a Benzino story out there. I walked in. I'll let you say. I walked in promoting shows, and a lot of venues I couldn't book hip hop shows because of all these Benzino stories. so I'll let you go from there.
It's weird, right? And it's weird and it's funny because, like I said, we all gonna have people that don't like us too much. We all have people that love us, right? With Benzino, I say this, and this is how I look at things, man, because like, think of the pressure he had on him, right? He had a group with 12 members from all different neighborhoods. Then he had his own crew of 30, 40, 50 dudes. And he's trying to find a way to take care of everyone. Everyone's not going to be happy, in some sort of way. But he tried his best to do right by most people. And he did some things that wasn't okay. And I mean, you're gonna figure you're gonna hold what you're gonna hold, you're gonna let go. You can't do right all the time.
No one's perfect. But you guys all had major label deals.
So that was one of the problems that kind of came, like, as a group, we end up getting a deal on Def Jam. But
that's crazy. Think about that right there.
It was real crazy. Like I said, coming from what we came from, but and this goes back to the kind of the bad things of Zeno. Zeno had his ways of dealing with things, and that just at this time, right? We're in the hood trying to come out. Benzino in the Source magazine is flourishing. So Benzino don't need the money like we do.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So he's moving in a different way. And I think the way he was moving, he forgot that we don't have Source money, we don't have it.
Source was crazy back then too.
Yeah, it was. And big shout to Dave Mays.
Oh yeah, great. I had a subscription for years in the 90s.
Yeah, big shout to Dave, man, because Dave was a big part too, man.
Oh yeah.
But because of Dave, it allowed us to do so many things. And to be honest, because of Dave Mays, that allowed RSO to be able to do so many things, which transitioned on to all of us. It was Dave created the movement that allowed everything to go. So we give a lot of credit to Benzino, and Benzino brought Dave, but Dave was the one that did a lot of things.
Yeah. I saw a documentary. I forget what it was, which one I watched recently, but there's a whole thing on Dave Mays and the Source in the beginning.
Oh, okay.
Oh, it was the Dark Side of the 90s, it was called. It was just talking about the Source in the beginning, and then how Vibe came along to compete, and then how they put the fuel on the fire with the whole Biggie Tupac thing and all that. But Dave was coming from the Source. We were talking about the Source in the beginning as being the blueprint. And the only way to get the information about hip hop in the beginning and how important it was.
Exactly.
But big business came in and was like, took it away.
Yeah.
But I heard also, I heard of the Wiseguys in the 90s out up in New Hampshire, and Almighty RSO because of 88.9. You guys were being played on 88.9, and that must have had a huge role. You mentioned it earlier, but that had to have a huge role in your success in the beginning as well.
Well, it definitely did. You got not too much change as far as radio. With 88.9 was really all we had. I mean, we had 94.5, but we wasn't getting play on 94.5. So it was all college for us, and 88.9 was major in really pushing the Wiseguys. We depended on 88.9 heavy, and all the college radio. We spent months doing college radio tours, all through New England, all down the East Coast. I mean, at that time you had to get out and grind. It was, like I said, we had no social media, so you had to get on that grind, and we grinded. We went everywhere.
Yeah, you gotta get in front of people.
Yeah, it was, and it's funny because to this day, that's still my grind. Social media is there. I'm an older head. I'm not so social media savvy, but I get out and grind. I get out and touch the people.
Yeah, I mean, I started promoting shows before social media was all flyers, hand to hand.
Yeah,
Now
yeah,
I'm like,
exactly.
wow, I say that to people, they're like, whoa.
Flyers. What's a flyer?
I'll still make a flyer, just digital only. I just won't print it out. You talk about working with Nas and Mobb Deep. How did that happen? Talk about that experience, because I was always vague on what that experience was to you.
Well, so as far as Mobb Deep, we had built a super relationship with Mobb Deep. The first time I ever met Prodigy, he was in the hospital, fighting the sickle cell thing. That was the first time I went to this hospital. I met him. I built a super relationship with Hav. After we did a song, a track when we actually did a song called Adidas on the How to Be a Player soundtrack. Yep. And we did that song, and we just, we was just building. So they all we it became a brotherhood. We was going to Queensbridge. We brought him down to Boston. I got pictures of them in Orchard Park projects, and not just Prodigy and Havoc. I mean, Godfather 3, Twin, Noid is one of my best friends. It's just we built that kind of relationship and friendship. So that right there was already there. The song we did with Nas, it was more of a business thing, and it was one of those great things, honestly, from Benzino. Once again, I got to give him a shout out. After we did the first Wiseguy album and Company of Killers, and we got the deal on Def Jam. Benzino came to me, Tang, and Mike McNeil, and he asked us who would we want to do songs with. So, Mike McNeil always had that South thing. So he picked Scarface. Tang picked Pink. He wanted to do like an R&B type, record. And I picked Nas. And honestly, he made it happen for us in that way.
You have a song with Pink?
I didn't. Tang did a song with Pink. I did the song with Nas.
I gotta hear that. I gotta hear that.
So look, this is
Tang
what's
the
crazy.
Juice, Pink. Yes, dude.
This is what's crazy, and this is the funny part about the whole thing.
I don't know if it's funnier than that.
Yeah. So what's funny is none of these songs ever came out.
Why?
None of these songs. So we started having riff, amongst each other of doing these records, and so let me tell it so everyone can hear it right here. So our problem as Wiseguys was this. Our RSO felt like they were blackballed for some things that they did coming up in their time, right? So they felt like they were blackballed by the industry. Now, Benzino comes out with this group Wiseguy, and we're getting major love. But he's trying to live his dream out through us. So he's jumping on our records, and he's doing so. Every time we do one of these records with artists, he wants to be on the record instead of letting us build our own identity. So our thing was this, as we sat down and had a whole meeting, and was like, yo, listen, if you're blackballed, why do you keep trying to rap on our records? The only thing's gonna happen is you're gonna get us blackballed too. Let us do our thing, and you do your thing, which created friction, because he didn't really want to hear that,
No.
So that started the problem. So what ended up happening is, as we kind of broke up, we came back, we started doing these records, and then Benzino wanted to come out with a group called Made Men.
Yep.
Made Men was supposed to be me, Cool Jesus, and Twice style. But and I made the first 2 or 3 Made Men records ever made, as a group. But what I didn't realize, and what was trying to happen, was he was trying to replace Wiseguys with Made Men. So he was trying to pull me out of it, do certain things, and he was trying to break up the group.
Downsizing.
He was trying to break up the group because of everything that was going on. And at this time, Wiseguys, we built friendships that to this day. So I couldn't do it. You know what I'm saying? I couldn't do it to my crew. I was like, oh, nah, no way. Right. You know what I'm saying? Like, no way. These are my brothers now, and I can't allow that to happen.
Right. So these songs get shelved, the deal falls apart, I'm guessing.
Yeah, so the deals fall apart, the songs get shelved. And actually, it's funny because what happened was, and maybe it was just made for these songs not to come out, because what ended up happening was Made Men got a deal and they were dropping an album called Black Friday. So all these songs were going to come out on the Black Friday album. But then the whole thing at the Fleet happened, and then Made Men ended up breaking up. And
Wait, so what happened? The whole thing at the Fleet? What are you talking about?
so the whole the thing with the locks, the stabbing,
Oh, the Pierce thing?
no, this is before Pierce. This is no, this might have been after Pierce. But so a guy that was on
I don't
our
want you to
street,
throw anybody on the bus, under the bus
yeah,
on
yeah,
this.
yeah. So,
But if you want to talk in general, the
yeah,
general
you
incident.
you see me trying to think of it. So I'm
Yeah.
gonna say it like this.
Let's
It was
not
a
name
guy.
names who's responsible, but let's just talk about the incident in hand.
Yeah, yeah. So I'll just say it like this: a guy on our street team was out on the Def Jam street team tour. So we had a street team called In the Trenches, and they had got, they were doing real big things around the country. So they end up linking with Def Jam street team, and they were out. So one of the guys from our street team met a girl. They end up kicking it. Come to find out, the girl was DMX side piece. DMX had a issue with that. He was making a lot of noise, but he never approached us because we was on tour. So now we on the Rough Rider Cash Money tour. We on the tour. We all together on the tour. We in going from state to state, city to city. But he's making all this noise, but he won't say anything to us directly.
What year is this?
Huh?
What
What
year is
year?
this?
Man, what is this? It's got to be early 2000. Maybe
I think I
2000.
remember that Rough Riders Cash Money tour. And I want to say it's early 2000s or late.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's early 2000s.
Yeah. Yeah, it was early 2000. It wasn't the 90s. I want to say it was early 2000s. And so anyway, long story short, we get to Boston. Dudes went to talk to X because now it's out of control. X wouldn't come out of his dressing room. Because of the situation with Locks, and the Locks had did a song with Made Men at this time. It was a pretty good relationship. So dudes seen the Locks, they started talking. It started out great. It turned out bad. A few people got stabbed. A few people got beat up.
Yeah.
With that being said, everything kind of fell apart from that incident right there, and fell apart with the groups. Fell apart with just the feelings of how people felt about this music industry and how they wanted to approach things. Just kind of went crazy. So like I said, Black Friday fell through, and it never came out. So once again, all these songs that I talked about, you never get to hear them.
Do you think that it was just too many people in the group? It was just too many people around, and it was just causing that the amount of people involved could have been the issue, or with the entourages and everything? Or do you think it was just what do you think was the really reason why it just all fell apart? I mean, there was incidents happening. Why were these incidents happening, I should say?
Well, I mean, anytime you got a bunch of people, you got different personalities.
Right.
So definitely you have a whole bunch of personalities, right? You got personalities inside the camp, and you got outside the camp, what people thought about. When people looking out inside, from the inside, they thought one thing, but it wasn't really like that inside the camp. It was a kind of a camp where we could actually sat down a lot with each other. We spent a lot of time with each other, and people voiced their opinions on how they felt. To me, I can say this. I thought for me, the biggest problem was where we were at in life. So like I said, for Benzino, the Source was going great. He was eating, and, we were trying to eat. And I felt like, so we were chasing our dreams, and we was trying to make money. He already had money. He was chasing fame. And so we was on two different paths of where we were going. And I think that was the biggest thing. I think because he was already set in life, he just seen things totally different from where we were. And it just clashed. It was clashing, it was clashing all over the place. And, I think for him, it was kind of almost like, yo, listen, I'm good. Y'all trying to get good. And, so I can do this and I could do that. But a lot of it was hurting us more than it was helping us.
Right. So after the Wiseguys, everything is done. I also want to bring up one other thing. Is this when you started? You also mentioned ghostwriting. Is this during this process, or does this come after Wiseguys breaks up?
So all right. So I always used to write verses for Zeno. Like that was my first taste of ghostwriting, writing for Zeno. So my biggest thing came. So we're in Virginia and we're with Teddy Riley. Actually, we was working on the Men album. Teddy Riley was doing a song for the album, and we was down there just doing joints. We met Michael Jackson. It was crazy.
Damn, was that a lie? Wiseguys and Michael Jackson?
So it was only a few of us. It wasn't a bunch, but it was only a few of us down there at Ted's studio because we're not working on the Wiseguy project. We're working on the Men project.
Right. Okay.
So we're down there. Mike comes down with Ted. It was crazy. I like experienced like no other. That's a whole nother thing, But anyway, so we're down there with Ted, and Teddy was going through a tough time too because he was going through issues with his group Blackstreet. So we're doing a record, and before we was kind of listening to the record, Ted was giving us kind of a background of everything that was going on with him and Chauncey Black from Blackstreet and all the stuff. So I just kind of took it in, Leedz. I'm gonna be honest, I took it in, and doing the song, and I wrote a verse talking about what Ted was kind of talking about. I put it in, I penned it. So we're in the studio. You got to think about it. He got his crew there, our crew there, and I shot my shot. I was like, yo, Ted, I want you to listen to something. So everything stops, freezes. The music's playing. And I say the verse to him, and he kind of looks at me, and he's like, and he gets up and he walks out, and I'm like, oh shit, I'm like, yo. So everybody in the room just kind of looking, nobody saying nothing. I'm like, whoa, like, but I know the verse was hot, but, and then he came back in the room, and he came in with a mini recorder, and he was like, say that and this. So I'm like, okay. I say the verse and that, we do whatever we do. The night goes on. I come back the next day. He laid it, and I was blown away. I was like, "Yo, oh, he laid it. It was crazy." You know what I'm saying? And you think like these guys that you looked up to, and you're, that you help kind of make you want to do this music thing. He's saying my verse. Like it was crazy, and then. From there, I did some work with New Edition. I when all this was said and done, I built another situation, and I met Timberland, started doing some work with him and his camp, and it just kind of got bigger and bigger. Just penning and penning. So it was my blessing. Of things didn't turn out this way, but it came back around for me.
Right. I want to circle back to New Edition. Growing up, did you have a relationship with those guys in OP?
So Mike Bivins lived on the first floor, and my grandmom lived on the third floor. We were like family. He ate at my grandmom's crib. We sat and watched movies. I mean, his mom, my family, we all, so coming up in Orchard Park, like we were it was two sides of the project, the bumpy road side and the park side. Mike was the only one from my side of the projects, even though Bob Brown's family was from my side of the project. So we spent a lot of time. So the only ones that I really had relationships with that was, super tight with was Mike, like a big brother to me, and Bob, you know what I'm saying? Like, so I knew Rick and I knew Ralph and them, but I didn't have relationships with them. Like, me and Mike even to this day, we speak all the time on the phone, I just did something for his album and I'm in his documentary.
Michael Bivins is, to me, Puffy. Someone told me, I always said that Puffy stole Michael Bivins' whole thing.
Oh yeah.
And I think it's documented. Someone told me it was documented that Puffy ran with it. Admitted that.
Mike was Puffy before Puffy.
Yeah, I always said that myself.
Yeah, he was Puff before Puff.
Did you see the business sense with him growing up? Did you look at this guy and was like, this guy is going to be a huge pop icon? I mean, did you see that come in?
No. And honestly, all of that really, he took that transition when they was kind of gone. You know what I'm saying? So it was kind of like when they moved out, you got to think about this. And what people don't understand, with all the New Edition success, they wasn't really in a position until Mike decided to go and start doing the business. They were in trouble. So Mike was kind of pushed to be able to do something. He found his knack. I hate not to give away the documentary, but he talks about it a lot, where he wasn't really super into the group thing, but the business was his thing. You know what I'm saying? And once he took that over, he kind of fell in love with that.
Right. Talented dude, man. What he did there, I don't know what he does now, but that moment that he had there with everything, impressive, very impressive. And to be from Boston too is huge.
You know what, Leedz? I'm gonna tell you, and you probably already know this, but this is for the people. When people come to me and they talk about music and they want to do music, I'm willing to support anybody and never crush anyone's dreams. But I tell people all the time, this business is a hard business. It's a tough business. It's not what you think. It's not what you think, and it's not what you see on TV. There's a lot that comes with this, man. It's not something I would want for my kids. I tell you that. It's tough. And what Mike is, I think he went through a process that we all did. We loved it. And then that business side will make you hate it.
Right. You talk about your kid. I listened to you on Shug's podcast, and you're a 20-year-old, right? He keeps you sharp. He keeps you sharp with the new up and coming rappers, right?
Yeah. So listen, Leedz, I have 5 daughters and I have 1 son. And my son, listening to my son, he keeps me on. Dad, listen to this, listen to that. And it's funny because I respect it. Like, I respect the music, right? I respect the drill. I respect everything that's coming out. And I see how things are changing, and I tell them, we go from here to here to here. And so, my son is so open. He's open to listening to all the music. You know what I'm saying? Now, my daughter's is a little bit different. My daughter's, she's 19. My son just turned 22 last week. But my daughter, she's about to turn 20, and she's a tougher crowd. You know what I'm saying? So she was letting me listen to an artist. I forget the name. And I said, you know what? This kid sounds like Jewel Santana, with just a little different flow. So I let her listen to Jewel Santana. Now, this is the funny thing. Like, we don't realize how time goes by, and these kids, and my daughter's like, Jewel Santana. I'm like, how you don't know Jewel Santana? So I let her listen to Jewel Santana. And my daughter said, Dad, he's whack. I said, listen, rap music is all recycled. All these artists that you're listening to, they listened to someone else and they found that flow. It's not that hard. You know what I'm saying? But it's funny how we go through the ages, man. Yeah, my kids are funny, man. They're real funny.
To keep you sharp. I want to talk about the last 2 albums you put out, the End of the Era series.
Mm-hmm.
You say end of an era. What do you mean by that?
So end of an era, it kind of means a couple of things for me, right? So if you listen to the album and you see where I'm going with the music, I kept it to my era. I didn't try to sound like what was today. I kept it to where I love in the era that I come from, where that era is ending, is the kind of the end of that era where it's going into a new sound and new wave.
Let's describe that era that you come from sonically, or more, let's put some more visualized to that so people can understand.
So I feel like I come from an era of the lyrical, where it's more the words and painting a picture with your words, and it's not so much of the image, because I feel like what rap is turned into now is more image than music. And so I just come from that image where it's lyrical but good music, something that you're gonna always have on there for somebody, and not just me talking about the streets. You're gonna make a record for this. You're gonna make a record for the kids. You're gonna make a record for the women. You're gonna make a record. You got to show your versatility, and that I feel like that started being missing from the game. And that's what End of an Era is about. Is when you listen to the music, you feel it. Like, okay, that's what it is. Plus, on the flip side of that is, I'm getting older. This is the end of that era of Mann Terror, where I'm giving you these albums because, I don't feel like I can't make the music. I just feel like I don't want to be a certain age still making rap records,
But is that bad? Is that like you
No,
still, if you're
no.
rhyming about where you're at in life, right? And you do,
Yep.
like, you're not trying to be, I don't listen to a Mann Terror record and be like, yo, he's trying to sound like when he's young kid. You know what I mean? I feel like you are rapping from your life, what you see through your eyes right now and your experiences. What's wrong with keep doing that?
No, there's nothing wrong with it. So I'll give it to you like
I should say there's nothing wrong. Why stop doing that? I should say.
So I guess is you start looking for bigger things, right? So, my thing is this. I say I'm getting older. I don't want to be rapping at 50. Not saying that I won't never rap. I might do a feature here or something over there, but it's kind of almost like this, right? You don't want to be 50 working at McDonald's. Now, I'm not saying there's something wrong with working at McDonald's, but when you're 50, you want to own a McDonald's, right? You think, yo, I'm 50, I want to own a McDonald's. I don't want to be there. So at the same time my thing is, when I watch my city and I watch what's going on, is I think my talent would be a lot better with helping some artists than me just making records for my fans, because once again, I'm back in that stage where I do this music for the people that love Mann Terror music. And, every day I'm out, I get stopped by 10 people like, Terror, where's the music? Terror, what's up with this? Or, yo, I fell in love with
demand.
Yeah, I fell in love with End of an Era. I get people texting me lines, and I tell you an even funny one. So I'm at work one day, right? I walk over to the corner store. So I see a guy, I'm walking in, the guy's walking out, right? He kind of looks at me, I look at him, he don't say nothing. So I go in the store, I get what I do, and I see the guy, he's parked in his car. As I'm walking across the street, Doubleheader comes on, and he just blasted. You know what I'm saying? It gives me the head nod, and I'm like, yeah, so I didn't make $1 million, right, Leedz? I didn't make $1 million, right?
None of us did. Most of us don't.
I didn't go quadruple platinum, right? But what I feel like is I built something that will live forever, and that to me fulfilled all my dreams. I feel like I succeeded. So success is different to all of us, but I feel like I succeeded in what I wanted to do.
Listen, man, you reached a lot of levels that most people can't.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Maybe it didn't work out as planned. Maybe it didn't work out as planned, but I mean, you had a major label deal. You worked with Nas, Mobb Deep, Pink. You met Michael Jackson. You ghost wrote for Teddy Riley. I mean, man, bro, like, you know what I mean? Like,
and
it speaks highly. It speaks highly of you and your ability in this game. We can't always we can't predict the result, the ended result, man.
That's right. I mean? That's right.
Doesn't mean we're any less of a success, though.
No, I feel successful. I feel like what I've done in music, and I did it. And like you said, it didn't come in the way that I expected it to, but it came. And like I said, man, for me, all my dreams came true. I performed at the Garden. You know, I've done songs with, you know, I wrote for, you know, New Edition, who I looked up to, and that was everything for me. You know what I'm saying? So
Neighbors.
these things is the things that I wanted to accomplish in my life, and to me, it's like I did it. You know, so I feel now where I'm getting to is I feel like what I can bring to the table would be more to help some younger artists that's coming up and not make the mistakes that you have to usually make when you're coming up in this game.
I mean, there's no doubt you have a lot of wisdom to share with people. I would just hate to see you stop rapping. That's all, brother. Because I like your music, man. And someone with your ability, I always say when people say that to me, I'm not just like, you have ability, use it, man. I don't care how old you are. I don't care what you're doing, man. If you still got it in you, still write, still put out music, man. You know what I mean? Because we've all grown. Everyone's got a different audience, you know?
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And that's what we do. You know, the same thing I tell my kids, you know, we celebrate 50 years of hip hop, right? Yep. So that tells you hip hop didn't start when they started listening to hip hop. It's been going for a long time. So as hip hop's turning 50 and us being older statesmen, we like our music a little bit different. So, you know, I make that music for that older crowd that likes, you know, in a certain way. So it all goes, man. I'm blessed, Leedz, man. I feel so blessed for everything, man. And, you know, one thing, you know, when I get from a lot of young artists and they come and they be like, yo, Terror, man, I heard so much about you, man. Everybody loves you. Everybody rocks with you. And I tell them, I said this, I always spread love everywhere I go, to no matter who it was. You know what I'm saying? It's not too many artists that came out of the city that could say they were around me and I didn't give that love. You know, so when I watch, you know, artists, you know, take Millie's right now. Millie's doing his thing. I'm so proud of him. You know, and but Millie's been around for a long time. People don't understand the grind that he put in and the work that he put in for a long time. And I was one of the first ones showing them the love and you know, giving them the game. And so when I watch that, it's like, yo, listen, man, it can be done. It's a grind. This is a hard business. But as long as you stay on the right path, you spread love, man, and anything can happen, you know? So that's my thing. I never, one thing I see now that really bothers me is we're trying to separate ourselves. I don't like the Boston, Cambridge, this, that. You're not from here. If you're not from here, I don't like that. I never grew up like that. I spread love all over. It didn't matter. Lawrence, Springfield, Brockton, wherever you was from, if we rock out, and we all support each other. I don't like that. It's just one of the things that really it bothers me when I see that.
Yeah, that's a tough one. And
Yeah.
I got, you know, I know exactly what you're talking about. The Boston. Are you from Boston? Are you really from Boston? I will say this though, Terra. I will say this, Terra. You repped your neighborhood in your area always to the bone. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And like, you never deviated from that. You never tried to cover that up. You were Roxbury, OP. And, you know, those neighborhoods got slept on for a long time. You know, some of those, when people would talk about Boston hip hop, those neighborhoods didn't necessarily get the respect or maybe the notoriety that they should have, you know?
Yes.
And you kept it real with that. And I think that's another reason why you're loved so much in the city, is you kept it real in those areas, you know, that people kind of didn't really mention enough of, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I mean, you know, you with some of the good comes the bad, like, and everything, just like we talked about. So, you know, that always comes in and it plays a major part. You know, I remember even going through a time where people were kind of was kind of scared to rock with me, you know, because of that. You know, like, yo, you know, with Mann Terror, here comes a whole bunch of project kids, you know, like, but I could always say to this day, I never allowed my friends to mess it up for me, ever. Not once. You know what I'm saying? They came. It was always love. We always came. It was respectful to everything we ever did.
Right. Salute to that.
Yeah,
Salute
definitely.
to you are your crew when you're in a hip hop show. I will say that, man. You know what I mean? So if
Yes,
your crew ain't in order, get them in order. It's going to cost you business.
you got to, and if they can't respect it, you got to cut them off. At least for the not going, being able to go to your shows with you. You know, this is your
Right.
business, this is your life. You know,
It
so
is.
you have to have some kind of order when you're moving like that.
Right. So where you at now? What's the game plan now? We talked about working with other people, helping other people out, but is there any more Wiseguy stuff in the mix? I know there's a little resurgence of that not too long ago. What do we got going on? What do you got coming up?
So we're finishing up the Wiseguys documentary.
Ah, nice.
That's in motion. We're finishing up that. I never realized how hard it was to put together this documentary. So we was a little excited and giving out like, yeah, this is coming, but I didn't realize it was going to take a lot more work than I was ready for. So now we're into it, and you know it's coming. It's coming. It's just stay working. You know what I'm saying? I'm you know still pushing End of an Era 2. I'm coming to you. We're gonna get this single out now with Edo G, Roxbury Love.
Roxbury Love, Roxbury Love video out now.
Yeah, so I'm coming to you, and we're gonna shoot the next single. It's just pushing and pushing and pushing. And honestly, like no matter what I say, I'm already working on End of an Era 3.
That's what I wanted. That's it. The era, it's the end of an era, but we want more end of an era.
Yeah. So I say as long as I just keep the End of an Era, put a number behind it, then I'm not really doing something different.
Hopefully it won't end. Terror, thank you, brother, for making time today on your break, man. I know you're busy.
Thank you.
Your responsibilities.
No, thank you. I appreciate you so much, Leedz, man. Let me tell you something, man. You are a big part of this hip hop thing, man. And I can say this, man. When I came to you and I need you, when we want to do Wiseguys, man, you opened your arms up, and you always been like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I appreciate you for everything, man. You should be saluted. You need your flowers, because you can't talk about the hip hop scene without talking about Leedz, man. And you know, I just want to say, man, how much I appreciate you and thank you for everything.
I really appreciate it, man. Thank you. And with
Definitely.
that, I will close it out. That's a great way to end it. I want to thank everybody for tuning in to the Leedz Edutainment Podcast. Please like us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, subscribe. It helps us out with our special guest, Mann Terror. Thank you, brother.
Yes, sir. Salute.
Good to see you. Talk soon. Peace.
Well.